It's 5 o'clock, and I call this meeting of Northwest Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that the notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. We will go into closed session for our hearing in the Northwest ISD Hornet Shell Conference Room at this time. Note that Mark Sluter and Josh Wright are not here at this time. All right. Now we are going to reconvene our regular meeting. Meeting will be reconvened in the boardroom, which we are. Now we're going to go to invocation and pledge of allegiance. Dr. Warren.
All right, folks, thanks for everybody being here tonight. If you feel comfortable doing so, please pray with me. Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to meet and be a part of this district. Lord, we ask you to be with our board members tonight, be with our leaders, our administrators. Lord, be with our teachers. We're getting ready to start a phenomenal school year. And more than anything else, Lord, just make sure you show your love, your guidance, your wisdom, and your protection to our children. It's in your name we pray. Amen. All right, we do not have any students who want to say the pledge for us tonight. So let's see. Newest executive director, who is also my new neighbor, Mrs. Eddie, would you approach the bench there and lead us in our pledges?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Dr. Eddie, would you like the little gift that we always give out?
Yes.
Okay, we'll say right there.
And my favorite part of going to school is science.
All right. Item 6, consideration and possible action regarding the Level 3 appeal filed by parents of an NISD student pursuant to Board Policy FNG Local.
Madam President.
Mr. Sproles.
I move to deny relief requested in the Level 3 appeal of the parents of an NISD student and uphold the Level 2 decision.
I second.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Sproles, a second by
The new guy.
Mr. Hastings.
Mr. Hastings.
The new guy.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
Thank you, Board.
6-0. Okay. Item 7, recognitions. Dr. Warren?
Mrs. Conklin.
Yes, I would like to invite Dr. Warren and President Kopp to come to the front for our recognitions this evening. And as you're making your way, I'd also like to invite our Deputy Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Rob Thornell, and Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Michael Griffin, to the front. This evening, we are recognizing Beck Elementary and Wilson Middle Schools for receiving the Schools Transforming Learning by the Principals Institute. Beck Elementary Principal Dr. Sandy Conklin and Wilson Middle School Principal Mr. Mike Blankenship are here tonight to accept these awards if you want to join them at the front. Only 31 schools across the state have been named to the 2018 Schools Transforming Learning list. and schools were selected based on their work to advance student learning. All right, that's it for our recognitions.
Item 8 is public participation, and there is none. Thank you. Okay. All right, item 9, consent agenda, board.
Madam President.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Hastings, a second by Dr. Roush. All those in favor? 6-0. Okay, item 10. A, naming of principal for VR Eaton High School. Action item. Dr. Warren?
Board, very proudly, did Mike leave? Well, good. I didn't want to say good things in front of him. Board, I very proudly recommend Mike Blankenship, current principal of schools at Wilson Middle School, as a new principal of VR Eaton High School.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Madam President.
Dr. Roush?
I motion that, I lost my place. I'm sorry. I motion to name Mike Blankenship as the new principal of VR Eaton High School, as recommended by the administration.
Okay. All right, I have a motion by Dr. Roush, a second by Mr. Sproles. Any other discussion? All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, Board.
Congratulations. Now you can clap. Okay. B, consideration and possible endorsement of a nominated individual for the TASB Board of Directors from TASB Region 11, Position D. You had names in your packet. Would anyone like to recommend someone for that position?
Yeah, this
We can, or we don't.
You don't have to at all. You can. How many did we end up with? Yep, 4 candidates.
4.
Yep. It's completely your pleasure.
Okay, if we have no nominations, we'll move on to C, agreement for the purchase of attendance credits. Dr. Warren?
Board, it is that time of year again to approve our Chapter 41 agreement. You actually have to approve that our tax dollars leave us. As I told you in my letter, I would love not to, but I do have to recommend approval of this. Mr. Graswich, any comments?
We are going to use option 3, where we pay the state directly, as opposed to option 4, where we work with another district in partnership. The anticipated amount is estimated in the budget at $4.2 million. That, of course, will be dependent upon a lot of factors involving the tax roll.
Board, I would recommend approval. And I really need it.
Madam President.
Mr. Wright?
I move to approve the attached agreement for the purchase of attendance credits as recommended by the administration and delegate authority to superintendent to obligate the district under Texas Education Code Chapter 41.
Second,
Okay.
since it's not optional.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Wright, a second by Dr. Roush. Any discussion?
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Let's assume someone's new to the board.
Okay.
What does attendance credits have to do with Robinhood? So if someone's watching this video at home on YouTube,
Sure.
can you explain that?
The very simplistic way the state calculates Chapter 41 status is if you take our total taxable value, divide it into divide by how many kids we have, and that gives you your total wealth per pupil. And over that threshold, which is what, John, now? 319, 320?
No, I think it's like four something. We're talking the Austin yield now.
Okay, so
it's like 456 or something.
So $460,000 is called wealth per pupil. If you're over that, that means you are property wealthy. That means you don't have enough kids to equalize how much money you actually have. So we buy attendance credits from the state that will actually raise the wealth per pupil to make us where we are equal to what they say the property poor districts are.
If it was an option 4 agreement, we wouldn't be buying attendance credits in the sense that of a generic attendance credit. We would literally be contracting with other districts within that region. It could be Red Oak or whatever, and they would sell us 50 kids, and then another one might sell us 30 kids, and whatever, until we get to the number of kids we have to pay for.
And most of the times, John and I haven't discussed it, but most of the times, when Chapter 41 first came about, there were about 5 to 6 different options that you could choose from. Now, really, the only ones you have is number 3 or number 4. Usually, the state, the way they do their math, they would rather get the money straight to them, and usually it costs you more to actually partner with it, because most boards would rather partner with actual other districts so they can see where their money is going to go to. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, the way the math works out is actually a lower price tag partnering with, sending it straight to the state.
There is one other option, and Houston ISD flirted with it, or the people in Houston did, at any rate, and that was not to do it. And in which case the commissioner is not only authorized but obligated to detach property from your district and put it in another district and equalize it by blunt force. This has the drawback of losing INS tax base, because once he detaches the property, you can't levy any taxes on it, whereas we can still levy INS taxes even though we're over the threshold on maintenance and operation taxes.
Well, that answers my next question, is do we even have to pay? Because, in that accountability thing y'all were just talking about,
yep.
I think, was it Mansfield that basically wrote a letter saying we don't care?
Yeah. There have been districts in the past, small community in the Austin area, Wimberley. Have you heard of Wimberley, Texas? Mm-hmm. Wimberley actually passed a resolution by the board saying they thought it would do undue harm to their children to pay it, and sent to the state that resolution that they weren't paying, and the Commissioner of Education said that's fine. Now you're going to be a part of Dripping Springs ISD. They were just going to dissolve the district in total for not complying with the law. And so, the commissioner has a long wealth of power in dealing with that. And that's why it's always, especially when you're trying to, the Northwest has gone through this a long time ago, but when you're actually first, the Chapter 41, when you actually have to go out to the public, because they have to vote on how you get release your money, it's hard to try to talk to people about how to get them to vote yes to lose their tax dollars. Mm-hmm. It's a hard pill to swallow.
And John, my question is, these funds actually do go to other public school districts in the state?
They go to the state of Texas, which then does as the state of Texas will.
I think that's an important piece to add on.
So our taxpayer dollars that are earmarked for education aren't being used for education?
Over the last 2 legislative sessions, the legislature has used funds from school property taxes to balance the budget. Not the education budget, the budget.
In a previous decision, the state of Texas Supreme Court ruled that this was an illegal property tax by the state of Texas in certain circumstances, but the current Supreme Court has ruled otherwise.
So you're saying we really don't have a choice?
You don't. We don't. Yeah. Hence I needed you to pass it.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Excuse me. All those opposed? 5-1. Okay. All right. D, our resolution declaring hazardous transportation conditions for the 2018-19 school year. Dr. Warren?
Board, Mrs. Chandler has done a great job again going out across the district and identifying our hazardous transportation routes so that our kids will be able to be picked up no matter how far away they live from the school, be able to get picked up and not cross those hazardous routes. I believe she has one. Excuse me. You have 2 corrections to the list.
Yes. Actually, there were 2 errors, and just my fault. I didn't catch them. Luckily, someone else did. But one of the corrections that needed to be made, and it's made in the final copy that you'll sign off on tonight, is for Granger Elementary School, the Vista Greens development should be taken off of that school, and it's going to actually be covered under Hughes. And then Thompson Elementary will totally come off because their buses have now shifted to Sendera, and they're already also covered as well. So those are the 2 changes that you...
We just had some line changes this year that caught us.
Yeah, yeah. I just missed those 2, so sorry about that.
Board, I would recommend approval.
Mrs. Kopp, I move to approve the resolution declaring hazardous transportation conditions for the 2018-19 school year as recommended by administration.
I second.
Got a motion by Dr. Simpson, a second by Mr. Hastings. Any other discussion? All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, item E, District of Innovation. Dr. Warren?
Board, you've already voted on this, but we thought it would be a very good idea to get some more guidance from you tonight. Rob did a great job last year presenting this to us. A lot of districts in the state are going through the process of becoming districts of innovation. We just want to make sure how you feel about it, and do you feel this process is us, is Northwest, and because if it is, then Rob is going to start the process, and it's going to be committee work, and it's going to be a good decision that are coming back to us. We have some questions to ask you tonight, and some information to give to you that we need guidance from you about. Dr. Thornell.
That's exactly what I was going to say in open way.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for hearing us out on this. I really would like some feedback or questions or ideas around District of Innovation. I want to take you through a few slides that you saw last year and then some updated data about districts from around the state. First, as you may recall, it was House Bill 1842 that introduced the concept of District of Innovation and allowed the districts to gain some flexibility through a variety of available exemptions. You can go through a process where the school district must adopt an innovation plan approved by the school board and move forward. Interestingly enough, it does not have to be approved by the commissioner. It just has to be approved by you guys, and we'll send it in. Your academic rating must be acceptable, which ours definitely is, and it does replace many of the TEA waiver processes, things that you, throughout the year, sometimes we come to you and say we need a waiver for this or that, and it would replace that if we wrote it into our plan. So across the state, last year when I brought this to you, the number was about 500 districts. It has risen all the way to 784 of the districts in the state of Texas have produced a plan to the commissioner. All different sizes, geographic locations, really all over the state. I just listed a few of our local ones and some comparable districts. There is a link there to the full DOI page on the TEA website, if you so choose. What does it allow? As you may remember, some exemptions might include educator certification, teacher contract days, first and last day of school, length of school day, class size, etc. What it doesn't allow is for us to change the TEKS, in the curriculum, the state assessment system, the accountability system, finance, so forth and so on. So I put this slide in there. This is updated. Of the 64 largest DOI districts in the state of Texas of which we would fall, The four most common exemptions asked for were the first day of instruction, teacher certification, class size, which the caps, as you know, K through 4 is 22-1, and then also class size notification, where districts are asking that they don't even have to tell the parents if they go over that cap. And so we've already had some internal discussions that we don't think you'd like some of those exemptions. But just giving you a preview of what some folks are asking for. Again, those are the top 20 there. The one I think that has given us the most questions from our own public is the first day of instruction. As you know, many districts are starting up to 2 weeks earlier than we are. And as more and more districts do that, is there an advantage to align with other districts around the state? There are some reasons to do so. One might be making sure that we finish the first semester at the secondary levels before Christmas, which is advantageous. But we would like to consider that piece as well. I don't think we would come back and ask you for a class size thing. It's just my guess. I want to just remind you what we did last year. Last year in September, I spoke to you about this, and we asked you for a resolution to create a District of Innovation Committee, which we did do. We met several times. We had a public hearing on October 23rd to talk about it. Within those series committees, we came to a conclusion in December, and we basically said we want to just postpone until further discussion. We weren't ready to pull the trigger on any plans last year. So that makes us right here. This is a graphic produced by the state. We've done the board resolution, and we've had a public hearing. And we are at the point right now where we would develop a plan. We would reconvene a committee and develop a plan and bring to you those ideas that would then have to be posted publicly for 30 days and for comment sent into the commissioner and approved by you guys. So proposed timeline to do that. Right now we're speaking to you guys and reviewing that process. Over the course of the fall semester, we would talk about DOI options with our DEIC as well as other stakeholders. We would propose that we bring you a plan in November. We would post it for 30 days through December and ask for final approval in January. Just to kind of reiterate some pros of becoming a District of Innovation, it does allow us a lot of flexibility. It can mean anything from the number of instructional minutes during the school day to the start time to the end time, as well as some instructional mandates that we might want to explore. We would regain control locally, and we would, again, as I said, join many other school districts across the state, over 3/4 of the school districts in the state of Texas. Some cons, and we put this thing, it was a relatively new process. One of the things that we were concerned about is that the legislature might actually take this right away. I don't know that that's going to happen right now. We're not really hearing that vibe as much as we might have even this time last year, but that is a possibility. We don't know how they'll treat it. The other thing that I want to point out, there has been some pushback in the state from teacher organizations around the process because some of the things some districts have asked for have possibly made it even trickier or tougher on teachers. Limited planning time and some duty-free things that they're used to. I would hope we would not go down that route, but you may hear that, and there are some things that push back on it. So those are some pros and cons, and that was a real quick overview. Again, as Dr. Warren mentioned, we're really just kind of asking for your thoughts and feedback on would you like us to explore it some more and give you a plan this fall, or not. So I would entertain any questions or thoughts around that.
Dr. Thornell, I have a few questions. One of the things that you talked about just now is the TEA waivers. I imagine that would save a lot of time spent by staff. I mean, would you have a good guess or estimate how much time is spent on requesting these waivers throughout the year?
I don't know that I'd have a good guess on time. And some of the most common ones are class size, if possible. Also, if we hit too many snow days or professional development days, Dr. Espinoza's had to work with those in the past. Some of those natures. I don't know if Ms. Braswell has had to hit any of those. It does take time. Some of them are with very good intent, though. As I mentioned, we have been very sincere in trying to keep our class size down. That's a common waiver. And so spending more time, it could save us money to go over by a few kids, and it would also save us time from doing a waiver, and we just need to decide if that's what's best for Northwest ISD and go through that. But to answer your question fully, I'm not sure I'd give you an exact time of how much. Sometimes some of it depends on what waivers come up during the course of the year.
So, for example, we could still be a district of innovation, but we would still have to go through TEA for a class size waiver. Is that?
If we didn't add, that all becomes part of our plan. Okay. And so, like the chart that I put up there, those are the top 4 things that districts have asked for. That doesn't mean they utilize that or that they even have to, but they are exempt from it if and when that comes up, which could be advantageous. If you get to the middle of the school year and you're over by a couple of kids. I know Ms. Kaylee's had to deal with that in the past. Is we make the decision: do we add a teacher at that time and break up that class, or is it better to go forward? That would give us flexibility there. I don't think our intent would be to start the school year with larger classes for sure.
Would that decision still come to the board for that to happen, or would that just be able to be made internally?
It would totally depend on how we write the plan and your feedback with that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the not notifying the parents on class size getting larger.
I admit I had a little chuckle when I saw that one myself.
I figured that's probably what you were talking about. I believe it was the Dallas Morning News, and I don't want to take anyone's time. I just want to try and get all my questions out. So I think out of the 20 largest districts in the DFW area, 19 had applied for the waivers. We were the lone holdout. I believe I read that in Dallas Morning News. Mm-hmm. One of the things that article talked about was being able to, and you alluded to this, balancing the school year into semesters so you don't have the kids coming back after Christmas and taking their exams. The way we're set up now, currently though, we do have our students taking their exams.
We do. Dr. Espinoza has worked very hard to do that, but if you look closely at the calendar, the grading periods in the fall are shorter, and I know she may could speak more to that, but I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, we have worked. That came up pretty strongly on the parent survey a couple of years ago, and we've worked very hard the last 2 years to make that work in our calendar. But it does offer some strange grading periods. They're not all balanced.
And I do appreciate the fact that we've been able to do that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Dr. Thornell, I just want to make sure I understand. When you do the District of Innovation, you have to pick what you want to do, right? You don't just get blanket coverage.
No, it's not blanket coverage. We actually would develop a plan, and we would come back to you and say, these are the things that we are asking for. And then would also, again, has that 30 days for public comment if parents would want to comment on that, and we would come back to you at the end of that with the comments and say, okay, here we are.
Okay. Yeah, I like how we've done the calendar. We're ending the semester before the Christmas break. Yep. But then again, that's the first 5 weeks is really 4 weeks because the first week is getting to know the students. So it just, that first semester is really cramped. So I'd like to see that. And then with the educator certifications, with my meeting with Ms. Braswell, will that help you get the teachers you need for your vision for CTE?
One option that some districts have used is to say that certain courses, such as CTE courses, would be exempt from some of this teacher certification, but not all of them. And then others are just doing blanket. We don't have to be certified. And in talking with Ms. Kaylee, I'm not sure that's the route we would go. I mean, again, as a committee, we would come up with a plan, but that would not be the intent going in. But we could write it if we so choose to address certain courses if needed or possible. If we thought that was advantageous for our students.
I was really impressed with our meeting, your vision going forward. So whatever helps, where we need to help that out. So definitely. Okay, thank you.
What did your committee look like? Was it parents, teachers, administrators, a
Yes,
mixture of all? Okay.
I had the same question about the committee, who was on the committee, representation from elementary and secondary parents in particular. I also just was curious. I think this District of Innovation has been in place for, 3 or 4 years now? Across the state?
Yes, 3 years.
So what are districts reporting in terms of the benefits academically as a result of this plan? I understand flexibility, but academically, what have been some of the benefits, or do you have that information?
I don't have a lot of information on that. Again, many of the districts are going through that. I have not seen any correlation between student achievement studies with districts of innovation. The chart that I provided you talks more about what exemptions they're asking for.
No, I appreciate that.
In my brief research, and I say brief because I definitely don't think it was exhausted over the last few weeks in preparation, there have been some concerns that it is just asking to get out of stuff. But yet there are also some districts and examples that are showing some good ideas. I think Mr. Wright's question is a good one. Does it make us more efficient, and will that in turn make us better as a district? And I do think there are some advantages that way, possibly. In some districts, an example, and I can't go district by district, but an example that some people are being very unique with how they do professional development. And that may be a long-term benefit that we will not see immediately, but whether it's versus trying to load everything up in August, but maybe scattering those days throughout the school year, doing some innovative things that way. I think those are the kind of things that we would be looking at exploring. How can we help support our teachers rather than put more on them?
Dr. Thornell, you're exactly right. That has been my main concern. What is innovative about this? What are we actually seeing? Like I said, I guess there's just not a lot of data out there at this point. Going back to what we're talking about with the certifications, this is just an honest question. Do we currently have teachers in our CTE courses that are not certified teachers? No. Okay. You cannot have that unless you are a District of Innovation, correct? Thank you.
So good day. Well, go ahead.
Okay, so a couple of things for me. Unless someone wants to talk us out of it, your initial vote still stands that we are going to go through this process of DOI, and Rob will get his committee together again, and they'll start the work. And then follow the timeline, and just remember, you are the ultimate yes or no on the decision. So it'll be brought back to you. What did you say, Rob? January?
We actually probably bring it back in November to post for 30 days.
Okay.
And get feedback. So we'd be looking at a November board meeting to let you know this is our plan, this is what we're thinking.
Right. Okay.
Get your feedback.
The thing for me is, and we've talked about this around the table over the last several weeks. I know you're proud of our staff, and I know that, but we have a group of leaders, especially on the instructional side, when you talk about educational innovation, we are a very innovative district. In fact, the data, I looked at data today that shows that we are a district of innovation without the designation. So there's not a lot of things out there that we have to ask permission for. I have heard some comments about the calendar. I do not want to go down the road, and it depends on the recommendations of the committee and your final vote. I really don't want to look at trying to weaken teacher contracts. They're strong for a reason, and I don't want to go down that road. But seeing what our community members, what our parents think about, especially in those questions that we think we can answer with this, we'd like to bring them back to you if that's good for everyone.
So am I correct to understand that there's no need for a motion this evening?
Unless there's an objection, I think you voted on this last year, and I think you may call a vote.
I was going to say, do you recall how?
We voted yes. Yeah, you voted to continue the process.
I don't think we voted totally, but I don't.
Then you.
we can just vote again.
Then if you would like to vote again, absolutely do so.
I have one more question.
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
you feel with the time it's going to take to do this, it's beneficial for what we can get out of it? Or do you think your time could be better used to do innovative things we can do without it?
I think that I would love the opportunity to explore and bring to you a plan that would even better serve our community. And I don't know that I have that plan out here right now. I think you can just tell from my comments today some of the things I'm a little skeptical of. But there are other things that I think could benefit us a great deal. And we've got a lot of smart people in this district, both parents, teachers, and administrators, and we put them in a room. Let's see what happens. And if at the end of the day in November all we've done is brainstorm how we made our district better, we haven't lost anything.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll take a vote. Want to have a motion first?
Madam President,
Mr. Sproles?
I approve the resolution authorizing the process of becoming a district of innovation be further explored.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Have a motion by Mr. Sproles, a second by Mr. Wright. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. 3-2. I guess we will move forward.
4-2, Mrs. Scott.
Was it 4-2? I'm sorry. That would add up better.
Okay.
Okay. F, consideration and possible action to approve the recommendation of the superintendent to terminate the non-certified term contract of Damon Landis for good cause as determined by the board. Dr. Warren?
Board, I would recommend approval of the termination for the non-certified term contract.
Madam President,
Mr. Wright?
move to approve the recommendation of the superintendent as presented to terminate Damon Landis' contract for good cause as determined by the board.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Wright, a second by Dr. Roush. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, Board.
All right, resolution recognizing the 30th anniversary of Alliance Airport. Dr. Warren?
Board, Mrs. Scott found this just the other day, and I thought it was a very good idea. Hillwood is a very good partner for the district, and we wanted to continue that. We are in almost constant communication with the future of this area, and they, of course, they have their vision of the area, and they have been very supportive of us. I have been very pleased with that. So we just thought it'd be very nice for the board to show that, and I would like to, if approved, I would like to forward that to Hillwood's leaders and the airport's leaders that we celebrate their 30 years. I recommend approval.
Madam President,
Mr. Wright?
move to approve the resolution recognizing the 30th anniversary of Alliance Airport as recommended by the administration.
Second, and Dr. Simpson. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Wright, a second by Dr. Simpson. All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, Board.
All right, revisions to the 2018-19 Student Code of Conduct. Dr. Warren?
Board, you have already voted to approve the Code of Conduct, but in their infinite wisdom, TEA came back to us and said we needed to add just a little bit to it. Susie, would you please explain?
Yes, TEA has added this one paragraph that needs to be in our handbook, and it's about the request for evaluation for special education, and it's for a verbal request. And so we do already have a procedure in place that if someone does make a verbal request, or we will as of this year, that we will honor that. Our goal is to make it within the 15-day school timeline, and we have some procedures in place for who someone needs to contact if someone has made a verbal request.
And for all those pages and pages of Code of Conduct, this paragraph needs to be added. I would recommend approval.
I didn't hear what he said.
I'm sorry, have we already printed out Code of Conduct?
Had you already printed some copies of it?
No, we have not.
Very good.
Historically, we know that there's changes, and then there's also principal changes and administrator changes, so we will post them, and as things are updated, we will update it on the website, but tomorrow it will be on our website.
Thank you. Madam President?
Mr. Sproles?
I move to approve the revisions to the 2018-2019 Student Code of Conduct as recommended by the administration.
I got a motion by Mr. Sproles, a second by Mr. Hastings. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
All right, 2018-19 Superintendent Performance Objectives. Dr. Warren.
And Board, as we discussed, I will send you this, or Jennifer will send you this PowerPoint tonight, tomorrow, so that you can review over the next 2 weeks as we refine my performance objectives for the 18-19 school year. So we started, Board, as you approved the strategic framework, we started with the strategic framework, and we worked our way through, from starting with our new core beliefs, our vision. If everybody's noticed, our new mission statement is on the back wall. We revised our mission statement on the back wall, and then our 3 new strategic goals. And then we've been working very hard to refine those superintendent's performance objectives that I'm presenting to you tonight. And then when you have approved them, whether they be in this form or our new form, edited, revised, after 2 weeks, that will truly drive the district improvement plan, which will then go to our department action plans and our campus improvement plans. Because of the changes that were made in the strategic framework, which are not as restrictive as the last strategic framework, our departments, our campuses, and the district as a whole, we're really doing. I've really been pleased with the planning process of really identifying each of our needs, depending on the department and the needs. So the draft plan, we have 4 academic plans that we're recommending and 2 operational plans. Number 1 is you have always been a board that kept your eye right on the ball of literacy, and that puts you ahead of the game in a lot of school boards in the state because you have really delved into that. The only change in this is we would like to make it an emphasis across the district to remain very solid in our primary grades, but also making sure that our intermediate grades, our middle school grades, and our high school grades also have their eye on literacy for our kids to be successful as they go through our school district. There's some of the measures that we're looking at. Of course, you're looking at the normal ones that we've done, the reading assessments, the DRA, looking at the STAR, looking at the EOCs, looking at our AP courses and our dual credit courses at the high school levels. So you've got a wide array of measurements across the grade levels that we can look at to really set some really strict goals, and that's what we'll be doing over the next 2 weeks of creating really good, challenging goals for each of those grade levels for literacy. Number 2, if you remember the last 2 years, my performance objective was working on all of our campuses gaining the first quartile as it compares to as the state accountability system compares our campuses to like campuses across the state. We wanted to be in that first quartile. The problem with that one is we've identified is that it's a lot of the things that we were asking principals to come up to that expectation are not in their total control. Like attendance rate is a great, we have some campuses that don't do as well as others in attendance. Well, parents and kids have a lot to do with that, and that's not really in control of a building principal. So if we work on the other end of everything, STAR and EOC are measurements that we use for success. They are one of many that, but because of the emphasis on the state and the accountability system and making sure that we are fulfilling the needs of our parents in the state accountability system, that we're going to make an emphasis on the master's level. We're not going to just talk about passing the test. We want to see that years of growth, but we want our kids to master that level. And if we, looking at our teachers now and their expertise, we think those are very attainable. And what we've been looking at, if you look at this graph, this chart shows you we're looking at about a 10% goal. If you look at increasing and you're looking at what we're at now from all the tests that the kids are required to take from 3rd grade all the way down through their junior year, that's what our test should show if we have a 10% growth on mastery from that. So I think that's a great goal. I think that's a very doable goal if we do it right. College, career, and life readiness. This is exactly the words that were used from our 90-member strategic framework committee. College and career readiness have always been very important to us, making sure that, but we heard loud and clear from the committee that they also want us to look at the social emotional skills the kids are, and then just this making sure, and I'm using this a lot, you're going to hear me say this during convocation, serving the whole student. So, we're looking at a lot of different things to make sure that we're really trying to get in there and looking at the whole student and serving them. A lot of the social emotional will be more qualitative than quantitative, but we're going to continue to work on that and really make sure that from our 4-year-olds all the way through our 18, 19-year-olds, that we are really, really serving the whole child. So I'm very excited about that. The last academic goal will be, again, the emphasis on our special needs, our special population groups, special needs with special education, kids who are still trying to master the English language, kids who are served by our title programs, kids that are served by our career and technology programs. When I first came here 2 years ago, our scores from that accountability system were just not Northwest scores, not what they should have been. And we have made marked progress. I'm very proud and very pleased with the progress we've made on the PBMS accountability system. And just because these are some of our most fragile learners, I want to keep the spotlight on our children and on our services to them. And then the two, and there's the measures that we use for PBMAS. And then our two operational goals. One is something that we've talked about all year. With the one thing I told a reporter this last week, I'm very proud, when the shootings happened in Florida, when the shooting happened in Santa Fe, that took everybody's breath away, and people got really, really serious about school security and safety, and we always were. But in this district, we were talking a year ago. We were talking 2 years ago about school safety. When Tim got the committee together in 2016 to plan our bond, they were talking about school safety. $14 million of investments into our schools. So I'm very pleased with what we've done. What we have to make sure our parents know and our taxpayers know is we can always get better. And what the next phase of school security will be and school safety will be, I really want to take a delve down deep into that to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep our learners safe, to keep our teachers and our staff safe on all of which this year will be 30 campuses. And then the last one will be an interesting conversation. I will ask you by the end of this school year to make a decision. I think we need to open up our ears and really listen to our community about that. We know the challenges we're having with our budget. We had approved a $12 million deficit budget. I really, really hope I along with Mr. Grasswich and the rest of the crew, bring you a lot better numbers by the end of this budget cycle. I think we can do some savings activities within the course of the school year to not realize $12 million in the red. But right now, our system will not allow us to balance our budget at $1.04. The system is that broken because we're the poster child for what's wrong with it. We are a growing district. We add millions of dollars every year just because of growth. Not creating new programs, not creating new innovations, but just hiring enough folks to sit in front of our 1,200 new kids, 1,100 to 1,200 new kids that'll be here. So I want to have a very good conversation, and I think you need to set some really good goals for me to get into our community more and to again, just like we did with the bond, to really listen and teach and to listen and to come to a really good recommendation, for me to come to a really good recommendation for you by the end of the budget cycle, toward the end of the budget cycle this next spring, to give you the guidance that you need to vote yes or no to call a TRE. So those are the 6 this year recommendations. These are officially submitted to you, and we will, exactly what we talked about, if you will really dive into it over the next couple of weeks. We will continue to work on these. We will set some good goals for the ones that we need to set goals for, especially like that, carrying the literacy all the way through the school district, and get that to you for a good discussion next board meeting.
Anybody have any questions now?
Just a comment, really. First of all, I appreciate that we have 4 academic goals. I really appreciate that. It does appear, though, with the 4 academic goals that we may be overemphasizing STAR.
Okay.
Just because in each one of these that you've shared thus
They
far,
have components. Yeah.
STAR seems to be a major component. And because I know that we in the past have had some reservations about the quality of STAR being able to truly tell us about academic performance, I'd like to be sure that we're not going down the wrong road here and overemphasizing STAR as the premier or primary.
The driver.
Yeah.
Good comment.
Anything else? Okay, moving on to reports. June investment report, Dr. Warren.
Mr. Gresswich.
Yes, in June, we only do the investment report. The financial report is delayed until October when we have the audit and the comprehensive annual financial report. This time, the report is presented in accordance with the Public Funds Investment Act. We had one security mature for $15 million to the general fund. We made no purchases in June. In July, we went ahead and laddered out the $100 million bond sale that we had done earlier, so that will show up on the next report. At this time, we have $289 million invested, and we got just about 1.8% overall. What we're seeing in the economy is the Federal Reserve is on a tightening course. The economy is doing pretty good. Unemployment's down around 3.8%. Inflation's about 2.1%, and this economy's pretty strong. The one thing that is somewhat concerning is, as a result of the federal deficit, the federal government is issuing more treasuries than it ever has in its history. So there's a ton of debt flooding the market, which should drive up interest rates on treasuries, which would be good for our investments, not so good when we borrow money. But the real concern is, what does it do to the economy overall, and we'll just have to see. But at this point, everything looks good. There's a 100% probability in the Fed funds futures that there'll be another 25 basis point increase in September on the 26th. And then there's a strong probability of a 73% chance that there'll be another 25 basis points or quarter interest point increase on December 19th as well. So there's probably one, if not probably two, more interest rate increases scheduled for this year. We'll just have to see how it falls out. The portfolio shall be, by board policy, shall be diversified in terms of investment instruments, maturity schedules, and financial institutions to reduce the risk of loss resulting from overconcentration. And we've done that, spreading it between treasuries, government investment pools, bank deposits, and different issuers. Of course, everything is fully collateralized as well as spread out over differing time periods, all within, however, 1 year. And then the portfolio is operating within the range of the benchmarks. It's kind of hard to keep up with in a rising interest rate environment. I think we'll look a little bit better next month when we have the capital projects money out of tech school, which is our lowest paying amount institution, into some treasuries that we've purchased. Be happy to answer any questions. Good job.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, moving on to demographic report. Dr. Warren?
Mr. McClure.
Yes, we have Mr. Templeton here tonight. Bob's going to present to you guys a fascinating report on our demographics. I'm sure you can guess what the outcome is, but he'll piggyback on John's statements of our healthy economy and certainly all the residential booming that's going on throughout our district. So, Bob?
Thank you. It is my pleasure to be with you tonight. Tonight, I will briefly touch base on the economic conditions that we're seeing across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'll spend a good bit of time talking about the housing market and then a review of the enrollment projections that we prepared this past year. Well, the Dallas-Fort Worth economy continues to be one of the strongest economies in the country. We have very healthy job growth. In fact, the job growth rate is right at 3.1%, which represents about 113,000 jobs created during those last 12 months. Keep in mind the national job growth rate is 1.5%. So definitely continuing to see very good outlook for job growth in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Unemployment rates are staying very low. The U.S. rate's at 4.2. The Texas rate's also at 4.2. The DFW metropolitan statistical area is at 3.8. And the city of Fort Worth is at 1. So very low unemployment rates, continue to be some of the lowest that we've seen in a very long time. The housing market is continuing to perform very well. We're continuing to see increases in new home starts. The annualized rate for new home construction is right at 35,264 annual starts. That's an increase of about 4,000 over the same period a year ago. So it continues to be a very hot, strong housing market. We thought this graphic was a new graphic, a little interesting way to look at the job growth numbers. Texas has 4 of the top job growth cities in the country, out of the top 15 cities. So Dallas-Fort Worth number 2, following New York. But keep in mind, the New York employment base is much, much larger than the Dallas-Fort Worth employment base. So percentage-wise, we're growing even much faster than what New York is growing on a percentage basis. Of course, Houston has jumped back up in the top 10, so the energy market is improving. So energy growth is what is driving the job growth back in the Houston market. We're also tracking deed transactions. So from July 2018 to back to January 2018, we've had 2,090 home sales. That's existing homes and new homes. About 28, almost 29% of that is for new homes. We are seeing a little bit of a softening in the prices of new homes. In fact, during the last 3 years, the new home price has been right at just a little over $300,000 for a new home. The existing home prices about $191,000 in 2010, and it's up to about $300,000 in 2018. So a little bit of softening in the values of new homes. You know, that's really a good thing because the affordability was kind of pushing it up to where it was making it a little bit harder for younger families. So we need to see a little bit of softening in those new home values and new home prices. Here's the ranking report based on annual closings across the DFW market. What you'll notice is Frisco is no longer number 1 for building the most homes in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Prosper has now taken the number 1 spot. Annual closing for Prosper, 2,663. Frisco's down to second place with 2,526. And then Denton with 2,100. Northwest ISD in the 4th spot at 1,771. I will point out that Northwest ISD has the highest number of futures in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So we know that you're going to be a strong growth single-family school district for the next 20 to 30 years. This is not a cycle that's going to be short-lived. It's going to continue to grow for a very long time. We will see Frisco continue to drop down that list. So it's just a matter of time before, Denton moves up, Northwest moves up. We do think that in 2018 we could see close to 1,800 to 1,900 starts in Northwest ISD. Here's also a new map, a new graphic. We thought it would be interesting to show you where a majority of the housing is being built by school district within the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Those dark red school districts are building more than 1,500 homes per year. So you can see, if you could just draw an imaginary line across Tarrant County, Denton County, Dallas County, Collin County, a majority of the housing is being built north of those county lines, and that's going to continue to be the case in the future. Here's a look at the new home starts and closing data by quarter. In the second quarter, we started 472 homes in the second quarter, and you'll notice that's the highest number of second quarter starts that we've seen in about the last 8 to 9 years. So a very strong second quarter. That's definitely going to put us on pace to do that 1,800 to 1,900 new homes in the year 2018. Here's a thematic map based on annual closings on your current elementary attendance zones. These top 10 subdivisions account for 70% of all of your new home activity, can be found in the top 10. Now, what you will notice right now is Sendero Ranch is number 1 with 162 annual closings. Canyon Falls second. Dorado Ranch is third, but Dorado Ranch is out of lots, so they're going to drop off this list. We're going to have two newcomers that are going to shoot up the list over the next couple of quarters. That would be Wellington, because they just delivered lots, and then Timberbrook over near Justin. They're also recently delivering, and so we're going to see them shoot up the list over the next couple of quarters as well. What you'll notice is those red elementary zones are building more than 150 homes per year. That's Justin, Hatfield, Schluter, Curtis. So those 4 elementary zones building more than 150 homes per year. This next slide looks at vacant and developed lot distribution. So brand new to the list, Wellington with 326 vacant developed lots just delivered. Timberbrook second with 206. And then Caraway also delivered during the last quarter. So we've had approximately 700 new lots have been delivered during the second quarter. Here's a look at your future lot distribution. Your top 10 future subdivisions account for about 60% of that 30,000 lots can be found in these top 10. Of course, Sendero Ranch continues to have the largest future lot supply with 3,586. Pecan Square is in the development process, so they will be delivering within the next few months, next 6 to 8 months. And that is in the Justin Elementary Zone. So you'll see that concentration is moving north and west of 35. It's Pecan Square, Timberbrook. Those are going to be your new developments that will begin to impact your school district during the next year. Here's a look at that single-family data by elementary zone. We work with about 50 school districts that I would classify as fast growth school district. And we only have one other client that has this kind of distribution where you're growing in so many elementary zones. You actually have 8 elementary zones that are building more than 100 homes per year. And that's the only one that comes close to that or does that is Prosper. Prosper ISD has that same kind of distribution where the growth is spread out all over the school district. Your most active area is Curtis. Your second most active area is Justin. And then your third most active area is Hatfield. But keep in mind, Hatfield is going to drop down because they really don't have the vacant developed lots to sustain that pace. But you've got several others, Roanoke, Schluter, and Thompson, that are going to continue to be very, very strong single-family producing subdivisions. That Curtis zone, what's nice about that is that's your most recent elementary school. So you definitely have built your elementary school right in that heart of the area where you have the most housing activity right now. Here's that map that illustrates the previous slide. Those green outlines are active subdivisions that are building homes. You'll notice it's spread out all over the school district. Those yellow outlines are your future subdivisions where we will see the new development within the next couple of years. You have 2,200 vacant developed lots available for builders to build on, over 30,000 future lots, and there's about 2,200 lots that are in the development process. The bulldozers are there, they're turning the dirt, and they're preparing to deliver new lots. That just gives you that sense that the development community is going to continue to be very strong in the Northwest School District. Now, some of the details, I won't cover all of the active subdivisions, but some of your highlights. Berkshire, 760 total lots, building about 100 to 120 homes per year in 2018. That price range is $275 to $425. And just across the freeway there, we've got Hawthorne Meadows, also a D.R. Horton development. That price point is just a little bit lower. So definitely the builders are trying to get their price points down a little bit so that they can help with the affordability. So we do think that the Hawthorne Meadows could be building about 200 homes a year, and that's simply because of that difference in the price point. Wellington, new development, newly delivered, 1,679 total lots, There is some future multifamily, but we don't have any details or plans on that right now, but we wanted to keep that in front of you, that it represents about 1,400 future multifamily units along 287. We do expect first residents this fall, either September or October. There's 6 production builders. We estimate that they could build about 200 homes per year in Wellington. Just to the east of there, we've got North Glen. That's almost 300 future lots. The groundwork is underway on phase 1 with 85 lots. We should see homes starting by late 2018 or early 2019. Caraway also recently delivered 302 lots. Phase 1 with 160 lots delivered in the second quarter. Homes starting in October, November. And first residents could be spring of 2019. So the Haslett Elementary Zone is going to be growing all year long with these new developments that are coming into to that attendance zone. Trails of Elizabeth Creek, 1,210 future lots. Groundwork is underway on phase 1 with 156 lots. Homes could be starting mid-2019. That's also D.R. Horton. There is a school site within this development. We also have a new situation that we are seeing with several of our other clients. It's called a villa, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It is single-family homes that are built to rent, not for ownership. And so we have the same type of development in Georgetown ISD, in Hayes ISD. So this is a new trend that we're seeing. It's somewhat related to affordability. And so we're not exactly sure the yield that we're going to see. It's been communicated to us from the developer and the builders that they think it's going to have a low yield. It's primarily being planned as workforce housing, not family housing. So that's how it's being communicated to us. Now, the nice thing is the projects in Hayes and Georgetown are finishing right now. So we're going to be able to compare the geocodes that we get from Georgetown and Hayes and actually see what the yields are going to be ahead of this project. So this spring, I will have a very good idea of what the villas in Hayes and Georgetown are generating in terms of students per house. And I would say those districts are comparable to Northwest ISD in terms of their location to the cities of Austin. So I think that'll be a good comparison for us to make. Oak Creek Trails at Champion Circle, 1,033 total lots, 54 homes under construction, about 150 annual closings, building about 225 to 250 homes in 2018. We do have a multifamily project underway along 35. It's Gray Dove. There's 700 future multifamily units that are in the planning stages. The zoning and the site plan were approved in early 2017. We expect the groundwork to start by the end of 2018, so sometime in the next few months. Just to the north there, or to the east, we've got Chadwick Apartments, 264 existing apartment units. There's a future phase 2 with an additional 249 units. The site plan approved, groundwork starting in the fall of 2018. First units leasing around 2020. Our current yield in those existing apartments is 0.25 students per unit. Timberbrook, I touched on it earlier. It's just north of the city of Justin. Timberbrook has 1,550 total lots. The models are under construction. We do expect first residents late 2018. Probably more likely it's going to be early 2019. So during this next school year, the Justin Elementary will start to see students from Timberbrook. Along 35, we've got Pecan Square. It's a Hillwood development, 3,425 future lots. The groundwork started in June. First lot should be delivering in the third quarter of 2019. First residents expected late 2019 or early 2020. We anticipate that they'll build about 200 homes in 2020 and about 250 homes in 2021. And then they could reach maximum velocity of about 300 homes in 2022. That price range $270,000 to $500,000. Here's some of the other multifamily projects that we're tracking. Those little kind of blue polygons, those blue outlines are future developments. The purple are under construction. Within the district, there are about 855 multifamily units that will come online during the 2018-19 school year. Of that 850, about 280 are age-restricted senior apartment complexes. So we won't have any yield from those, but we wanted to make you aware of those just in case you get asked about these future apartments. There's an additional 4,200 multifamily units that are in the planning stages. What you'll notice is most of those are along the major roadways. They're along 287, they're along 35, and they're along 114. Here's just a review of our enrollment projections. This past October of 2017, our enrollment was 23,134. We grew just a little bit under 1,100 students, right at 4.9%. We are forecasting for this fall, this October, that our enrollment would grow by 1,151 students, and that'll put us at about 24,285. In the next 5 years, we expect your district will grow 6,609 students, and that'll put your enrollment in 2022 at 29,743. In 10 years, we could grow 14,000 students, and that'll put our enrollment in 2027-28 at 37,224. At the campus level, we have a column that represents capacity. It's the kind of the functional capacity of the buildings, and then when they get within about 5% of that capacity, it's green, and then when it goes beyond that 5% threshold, it turns yellow. And so you'll notice that next year, Sendero Ranch is going to be just a little bit over capacity at 691. In the following year, 2019, you will be opening another elementary school, so that will provide some relief, and it'll probably primarily be to the Justin Elementary Zone. There's also some expansions that will take place within the next couple of years that will help with some of those yellow bars in the following years as well. But what you'll notice is when we look at the elementary absolute growth, that row, we're growing almost an elementary school's worth of students per year. That 600 to 700 students per year is what you're going to be growing for the foreseeable future. At the secondary level, you'll notice that Medlin Middle School will be just a little bit over capacity in 2018, and by 2019, we've got Medlin at 1,200, Adams at about 1,200, and then Gene Pike will be just a little bit about 1,063. Your next middle school will be opening somewhere in that 2020 or 2021 year, and then high school expansions also will be coming online during that period as well to provide some relief at your Byron Nelson High School and Eaton High School. So you can see there's a lot of opportunities for new schools, expansions, and I know your passage of your bond election a year or so ago is what's going to help drive the solutions to some of these opportunities. Just in summary, Fort Worth's unemployment rate is a little below 4%. I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. With the Charles Schwab and the employment growth that's coming up 35 and along 114, the professional service industry growth along that corridor, Hillwoods, Project Blizzard, that area is going to sustain any little ebbs in the economy. So this particular part of the Metroplex I feel very good about for the next couple of years because that job growth is still in its early stages. New home sales make up about 30% of all of your new home transactions. The average new home sales price within Northwest ISD is more than $325,000 in the first half of 2018. We are seeing a little bit of softening there. That's a good thing. Wellington, Caraway, and Timberbrook, almost 700 lots, delivered their first phases in the second quarter. And we do expect the enrollment this fall, this October, to be 24,285 students. And within the next 5 years, we could grow 6,600 students. That'll put our enrollment in 2022 at 29,744. And in 10 years, our enrollment could top 37,000. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Well, good luck with the opening of school. I know it's just right around the corner. My daughter is a school teacher. She got her first job this year, and it kind of, when I hear your goals and your visions, and I think about my daughter, and I wish she could be teaching here. She's in the College Station area. Her husband is in medical, doing his residency there.
Nice.
But yes, this is a special year for our family.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Wish her luck.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, our next report is Health, Physical Education, and Athletics, District Effectiveness Report. Get all that out. Dr. Warren.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I told a group of parents last week at a parent meeting that this time of year with school about to start, and we've already started volleyball and cross country and football, that for me the world just seems right. And everything is back in order for a little while. So I'm excited to start the year, and like I said, we've already got things going. But what I want to do is kind of put a stamp on 2017-18, kind of give you a year in review of athletics, health, PE, and talk about some challenges, and then take some questions from you if you have any. What you'll see here on your first slide is just Northwest High School. Excuse me, just last year. Highlighting some of the accomplishments we had. We had two state finalists in cross country. I think everybody will remember our boys basketball team played in the state championship. Boys soccer was by district qualifiers. Swimming, we had a bronze medalist at the state meet, and then we had a qualifier in the 500-meter freestyle. Wrestling, 3 boys qualified for state, 4 girls. We had 1 boy state champion, 1 boy silver medalist, 1 girl state champion, and 1 girl's bronze medalist in wrestling. Powerlifting, we qualified 1 girl to state powerlifting meet. Track and field, we had a discus thrower that won a bronze medalist and a qualifier in the girls' high jump. Moving on to Byron Nelson High School, football team were by-district champions. And by the way, all of the, if you can read them, all the clips of the newspapers and things, and all the pictures and all 3 of the slides are all last year's kids and from last year's newspaper. So I thought that was neat to have on there. Volleyball team were regional semifinalists. We had 2 girls were state qualifiers in cross country and 1 boy. Team tennis was by district qualifiers. Girls basketball the same. Girls soccer by district champs, area champs, and regional quarterfinalists. Swimming, we took a relay to state, and then we took a boy in the 200-meter free and the 500-meter free. Wrestling, we took 2 girls to the state meet, and we had 1 state champion. Track and field were our boys' track team at Byron Nelson as a whole were area champions, and then we had a girl go to the state track meet and win a bronze medalist. And then we took 1 qualifier in golf, and then our baseball team was by-district champs, area champs, and regional quarterfinalists. This one stands out to me. Just their second year of competing at the varsity level. I think maybe exception of 3 sports that they didn't qualify for postseason, so I was proud of our accomplishments at Eaton. Football team won a by-district championship. Volleyball team won a by-district championship. Cross-country team boys were district champions in a state qualifier. Team tennis were by-district qualifiers. Girls soccer by-district champions and area qualifiers. Swimming, both boys and girls were district champions. Wrestling, we qualified 6 boys to state and 2 girls to state, and we also had a girl that won the state championship in wrestling at Eaton. We had 1 girl qualify for powerlifting in state. Our boys track team was district champions, and then we had a girl qualify for the state meet in the pole vault. Boys golf team were regional qualifiers. Softball were by-district champs, area champs, regional quarterfinal champs, regional semifinalists, and then to cap it off, our baseball team won the 5A state championship, which was just a phenomenal year for them and for Eaton. To go along with those successes, there are some accolades that come with that, and I like to recognize all of our Coach of the Year awards. And you'll see Kevin Burns, Stephen Morris, Justin Gretzinger, Michael Rourke were all coaches at Eaton High School that won Coach of the Year awards as voted on by the district. So all those guys were District Coach of the Year. One thing I want to point out, it just came out last week. Coach Fothery there at Eaton was that TSWA is Texas Sports Writers Association 5A Baseball Coach of the Year. So there's only one of those. He's the only one in the state of Texas that received that honor, so very proud of Coach Fothery. At Northwest High School, Christy Pottorff was our boys swim Coach of the Year. Another big one was Jessica Fresh. She was our assistant wrestling coach at Northwest High School. She was the 5A assistant wrestling coach in our district, in our region, and at state. And so we were proud of her. And then our girls basketball coach at Byron Nelson was also Coach of the Year, Stephanie Shaw. We had 57 of our athletes sign national letters of intent to continue to playing in college. You see the guy there in the purple there. He's a good-looking guy, but he looks a little bit different than when we took this picture after been working out all summer. Now, our foundation for success, I think we all understand that it starts at our middle school level. And we have 16 total middle schools that compete in our league. And that number is going to increase next year. But just some highlights of our middle school. Our Wilson 8th grade volleyball team was 60-0. And I don't know if some of you that have been here for a while and on the board, 2 years ago, our Medlin 8th grade volleyball group was 61-0 from 7th grade to 8th grade. And those girls are now sophomores and, hopefully have a good season, but ranked 3rd in the state right now. Hopefully this will lead to Eaton and we'll have the same kind of success in our volleyball program. Our Pike boys were 7th grade district champions in track and field, and our Tidwell girls soccer was district champions. One thing that's big for our coaches and even our middle school principals every year has been that middle school cup. And they don't know this yet because we haven't released it. We're going to let them know Friday. But it was the closest year ever, and Medlin's going to win it again with 94 points, and Wilson just being three points behind them. We had our summer camps this year. We had 34 total summer camps. We had 2,859 kids, campers that were in our programs, and we gave away 183 scholarships or comps to kids that needed them that may not be able to afford our camps. Obviously, all of you are aware of this, and I appreciate very much your support in this, and especially with Mr. McClure and his crew. This has just been outstanding for our kids and our programs. We were doing this all year last year, kind of give you a finished product, but our upgrade in our athletic facilities has been wonderful. There's a picture of our 4 middle schools that were upgraded with turf fields, and then here are some views of Northwest High School, NISD Stadium, and Byron Nelson with our baseball fields and our practice fields. For our physical education, I'll start with our run clubs. 2 years ago, our biggest goal with our run clubs was to get all 17 of our elementary schools to have a run club, and we did accomplish that this year. So all 17 had a run club. They logged over 54,000 miles. And then with our 6th grade run clubs, we had over 150 of our kids that also competed in our cross-country races before our middle schools did. Cox Elementary was the winner of our 21-day challenge. All 17 elementary schools participated in that. Our American Heart Association, we've always had a great relationship with them. Our Go Red Week, we were able to give $900 back, and then Jump Rope Heart for Heart and Hoops for Heart raised over $105,000. We brought in over $14,000 from our reindeer romp that goes right back to our elementary schools and our PE departments. And then you can see all the list of accomplishments and things that our SHAC group were able to help us with throughout the course of the year. We always appreciate them and their effort and involvement. Just some highlight. We've already talked about these, but just to highlight a couple of NISD athletic team success with a picture of our state baseball team from Eaton and our state finalist in boys basketball at Northwest. And I highlighted earlier our 4 state champions in wrestling two at Northwest, one at Byron Nelson, and one at Eaton. And before I go on to our challenges, so often, I was thinking about this in this presentation, getting it together, so oftentimes that what we do in athletics is our success is gauged by how many games or competitions you win or lose. And that's always great, and I understand that. And I hate to lose as bad as anybody, and we're going to play to win. That's what we're trying to do. But I really feel like if you'll notice throughout the accomplishments, there was a time here not too long ago that we were just trying to qualify for postseason. I mean, our goal was to get fourth place, and let's make the playoffs and see what happens. But been so proud of our programs, our kids, our parents, our community, and our coaches, because our success over the last few years have reached, we're beyond now qualifying for postseason. Our goals now are qualify for regional tournaments and state tournaments. But I think that's done through what our coaches are giving our kids with accountability, discipline, and structure. And I'm going to give the coaches a message this Friday, every coach in our district, and I think it's pertinent to share in this setting. I've learned that everybody, or almost everybody we play, has good facilities. Maybe not as good as ours, but everybody has workable facilities. Everybody we play has pretty good kids. Everybody we play has good coaches. Everybody we play has good athletic directors. So what separates you from beating those guys or getting beat by those guys? And my message this year to our coaches, which they've already been doing, is I think it's out-love the kids and out-relationship them. And our message Friday is going to be love the kids more than everybody we play and have a better relationship with our kids than everybody we play. And that should be the thing that separates. But also have that accountability, have that discipline, have that structure, and most of all, have those high expectations. So proud of our coaches that are already doing that. We're going to continue to work on that and push forward. Some of our challenges, club and select organizations are always going to be a challenge for us now. I never would have, 10 years ago, I never would have thought that one of the first questions we ask a head coach in an interview would be, how do you make your program a priority over a club or a select program? And that's some of the questions that we're asking now when we interview our head coaches. But relationships with those coaches, talking to the parents about the importance of what we do and the importance of what club does is going to be something that we continue to stress and that we continue to monitor, and we continue to work with those and have good relationships and getting our kids to choose us and not just choose club. We realize the importance of them. We're all for it. We just want our kids to do both, us and them. Multi-sport athletes, I think that goes along with club sports and select sports. I think kids now think that when they get in high school, if they don't play one sport year-round, then they fall behind. And I don't agree with that. And it's our goal and mission is to make sure we're building those relationships when those kids are in middle school or younger, and especially when they get in high school, to make them understand they can do multi-sports. So we're going to do a better job at that as we move forward here in the future. Community relationships are always important to us, especially nowadays with media. And Emily does a great job with our media people and putting me in touch with them when they ask. But, injuries are a part of sports, unfortunately. But I can sit here and tell you that, like Dr. Warren talks about the safety of our campuses, I can sit here and tell you with the rules that the UIL's put in place, the upgrading technology with helmets, our sports are safer now than they've ever been. But oftentimes we hear they're more dangerous than they've ever been. So fostering great community relationships with our media outlets and our parents is something that will be a challenge and we will continue to work with. And then always social media with our kids. And I hate to put coaches up there, but you have to nowadays. It's common sense, but monitoring our social media habits with our kids and our coaches is always something we're going to look after. Be glad to answer any questions or comments.
Coach, I don't have any questions. Having grown up here, participated in athletics here, it's just so exciting to see you lead the program. Coach Lukenhouse, Coach Prescott, who just retired. It all starts at the top. Appreciate your commitment to character. I really like hearing, and I've known that from visiting with you before, the allowing the students to participate in multiple sports, because in the past that's, you focus on this sport and, that's pretty much it. So really proud to hear you say that. Just proud of everything that's going on. And that leadership, like I said, starts at the top with you and all the rest of the people on the staff. And just very exciting time in Northwest ISD athletics.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I agree with Josh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have questions.
Go ahead.
Of course. Chisholm Trail Middle School, when we were doing the boundary changes, the concerns from the parents came up about how are they going to compete with a smaller student enrollment.
Sure.
So what you mentioned competing with smaller school districts.
Well, we knew that was coming. We could forecast that, and George especially, but George and I both have worked extremely hard putting a plan in place for Chisholm Trail, and I'm glad you brought it up because I have some stuff here that I should have shared about Chisholm Trail. Next year with our middle schools, we will have in the 7th grade 20 middle schools in our zone. In the 8th grade, we'll have 19. And the reason they're off is because Keller's opened a new school with just 6th and 7th graders. So they don't have 8th grade in that one. So we're 19 and 20. So what we've done is we have separated our middle school zones very much like the UIL separates 5A, 6A, 4A. We've done it by enrollment. We have a small zone and a big zone by enrollment. Obviously, Chisholm Trail is in the small zone. For football, which was our biggest concern, to be honest with you, we have picked up 4 opponents that we typically don't play. So in football, we're going to play Crum, Aubrey, Sanger, and Ponder. And then we'll have 4 games left over that will be amongst our zone of that small group. And when we play those, Chisholm Trail will play those teams, B and C teams.
Okay.
And then we'll follow suit in basketball and in volleyball. We're playing Ponder twice in both those sports. Outside of Ponder, we're playing everybody in our small zone, and we're playing their B and C teams.
Okay. Very good. And then a conversation we had last school year, we talked about before the district realignment, cross country was a brutal district. Our district was brutal because only 4 of them were in the top 10 for state, I believe, but only 3 could go into regional. How did that shape up with the district realignment?
In 6A, it doesn't matter where you're at, it's going to be tough because it's competing at the highest level, but we ended up on the good side of things as compared to what we've been in with that district, in particular cross country. How many Division I girls were there? 25. In that district alone, just in cross country, there were 25 girls that signed Division I scholarships.
Oh, wow.
In that district, just girls.
Wow.
And you had Keller High School was the best cross country team in the nation. Now we're still with Keller, or we're moving in with Keller, and we're still with Southlake. But I think Byron Nelson and Eaton will fit in with that district much better than the Louisvilles, the Flower Mound Marcus, Hebron, and all those put together. It was truly the cross country district of doom. Teams that did not qualify, like you said, for regionals in other regions would have qualified for state. And they had to stay home. They didn't even get to go to regionals.
Right.
So, but I think we ended up, it's still going to be tough, but I think we ended up on the better side of it.
Okay. And then lastly, when it comes to camps, it wasn't a district-sponsored camp, but my son attended the Jason Witten football camp. He says the best camp he's ever been to. So I hope we keep that relationship with pro camps because we ended up going to the Dak Prescott one in Louisiana because we couldn't go to the Byron Nelson. Made it a family trip. It was just as great out there too. So they run a good program. So hopefully we can keep that relationship.
I think we will. I think we did a good job of serving them. And I think when they came and looked at these facilities, because they're always thinking, where do we go if it rains or if it's muddy? And when they see how many fields we have that are turf and places we can go, they were very impressed by our facilities, and they did a great job. It was a lot of fun, and I can't see why they would change their location. I'm sure they'll be back.
Okay,
it was a lot of fun. I don't know if Jason Witten will have one anymore, but.
Well, fingers crossed. That he will. But, and again, tell the Shack thanks for what they do as well.
We'll do.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, item 12, consider any item removed from the consent agenda. There were none. Board President's Report. Board, we have the TASB Convention September 28th through 30th in Austin, and Northwest Metroport Legislative Luncheon Friday, September 14th at 11 a.m. at the Marriott Championship Parkway. Let Jennifer know if you want to attend either one of those. And then Dr. Warren, Superintendent's Report.
Very good. Very quickly, we have 3 board members that need to see Jennifer tonight. If you have not given her your dates that we can do our Team of 8 training. We have 3 remaining who have not given us feedback. Look at either September 17th or October 15th. Both of those are Mondays. September 17th, because the 4 we have heard from can just do those dates. So the November dates are out. So Monday, September 17th, Monday, October 15th. Please give your yes or no to Jennifer before you leave tonight. Back to School Fair is this coming Saturday, 9 o'clock at Pike Middle School. That's a great occasion to see what our communities are about, our business are about, great support for our kids. Convocation, also known as President Cop Show, will be on Tuesday, August 21st at 1 p.m. at the church, Gateway Church. Hopefully you can make it. Everybody loves to see y'all there. And then starting next week, we have all the meets. Starting Friday, really. Byron Nelson is Friday the 17th. Meet the Bobcats. The Meet the Texans is Monday, August the 20th at 6 p.m. And Meet the Eagles is Thursday, August 22nd at 6 p.m. So that's always an exciting time to see all the parents and communities get together for the Meet the Kids. That is all I have, Mrs. Scott.